In today's episode, we are discussing the 35mm 0.95 Mitikon all-manual lens for Fuji X mount. Should you buy this lens? Catch me after the break. What's happening, YouTubers, and thank you for coming back to the channel today. And we are discussing the Mitikon 0.95 35mm Fuji X mount lens. Is this a lens that is worth buying, and should you buy this lens? As usual, I will be giving you the pros, the cons, and should you buy this lens. But before we get on to that, I want to start off with the pros. First thing you'll notice with this lens is the actual build quality. It is absolutely solid metal. I mean, there's no plastic going on here other than the front lens cap and the rear lens cap. The aperture ring, which is a silent aperture ring and there's no clicks to it, it's just smooth, is all metal construction, and so is the actual focus ring. It's very clearly marked which aperture you are in, and you have your focus scale there, or distance scale in both feet and meters. It is absolutely buttery smooth. The lens has a really nice weight to it. I mean, it absolutely feels solid. The front element is a 55mm filter thread, and it's really cheap and easy to get filters for it. I currently have a Kenko protector filter on there. I think it cost me about £10 or £15 from the UK, not that expensive. But in general, I cannot fault the build quality of this lens. It is absolutely beautiful. It amazes me how Mitikon can sell this lens for what they sell. The biggest thing about this lens is obviously the 0.95 aperture. You really buy this lens to be able to get that 0.95 aperture. It goes up to 0.95 to f16, and as I explained, the aperture ring is absolutely completely smooth and silent. I would imagine that's great for video shooters if you're into video. For photographers, I would have preferred it to have been a clicky aperture ring so it doesn't move from the 0.95. However, one thing I've noticed is when it's on the camera, it doesn't tend to move that much. However, when I put it in my bag and pull it out, I always have to check that it is on 0.95. But that aperture gives you such a beautiful, creamy depth of field. The bokeh is simply stunning. And this will give you roughly about a 1.4 full frame lens in terms of depth of field. I've compared it and it is very, very similar. The best way I can describe it is a full frame 1.4 on an APS-C camera. The size and weight is simply perfect. It's very, very well balanced, I feel. It's quite a stubby lens. It's not that much bigger than the 35mm f2 that Fuji make. It doesn't taper in. It's just an all one size kind of lens. It's also a great weight. It's about 460 grams, which sounds heavy, and it is heavy. When it's in your hands, you feel the heftiness of this lens, but it is really, really solid. Image quality that I'm getting from this lens is nothing short but amazing for me. I mean, I can't believe that. How can you produce a lens which is so cheap? I think I picked this up for about £380 on one of these great import sites. And I just can't get over how someone can make a lens like this that is so sharp for a 0.95 lens. And I keep going on about that, but center sharpness is ridiculous. And when you buy a lens like this, you're probably going to use it mainly for portraits or that sort of thing. And where you will focus in on the eye, I mean, the detail you get is just simply astonishing. I touched on bokeh. The bokeh you get from this is absolutely buttery smooth. It is gorgeous. The fall off is just beautiful. It gives you such a nice look. And I'm going to do a comparison with this lens with the Fuji 35mm f2 to give you an indication of the differences between 0.95 and f2. The best thing I love about this lens is, as you guys know, I love street photography, and You can shoot it for street photography at 0.95 if you're using focus peaking. It is difficult to do, but you know, it can be done. But the subject separation that you get from this lens is just, it's great. I'm going to pop up some images after this video just to show you what I'm talking about, but you can really separate your subject and make it really kind of stand out in a messy or a busy background. And yeah, it's just simply phenomenal. The focus ring is really smooth, it's damped really nice, pretty stiff. It's not like a really loose kind of focus barrel on it, but it feels great when you're focusing with it, and it's really, really accurate. So what are the cons about this lens? Well, the main con really, it's not a con for me, but it can be for a lot of people, and it can put a lot of people off, is that it is an all manual lens. I'm not talking just a manual focusing lens, I'm talking about that the lens has absolutely no contacts on the back of the lens, so you are completely unaware of any communication with the lens to your camera. Your camera will still give you things like what ISO you're using and your shutter speed. However, it will give you absolutely no indication on what your aperture value is or the focal length of the actual lens whatsoever. So that can be a bit of a downer. The next con is that this lens itself can flare. Now, flaring isn't a major issue, but it can flare if you're anywhere pointing it near the sun. My advice would be just to shoot it away from the sun. However, if you do get anywhere near the sun, it's not a major issue. It's just if it's in direct sunlight or pointing it right at the sun. Another con is it's a non-weather sealed lens. It has no gasket which runs here. There's no kind of weather sealing going on inside the lens either. However, I don't find that a massive issue. The final con with the lens is that it has no lens hood included in the box. That's a bit of a bummer. However, lens hoods are very cheap to buy on Amazon or eBay, so I purchased myself a square lens hood. It's made by a company called Hogue or Hoge. I'm not sure how you pronounce that, but I was told it's a Chinese name. And once that is on the actual lens, I think it sets off the lens really, really nice. I think the lens looks great. And I also purchased separately, which is a bit of a bummer again because the metal cap for the lens hood doesn't come with it. So I bought that separately, and it just covers the lens like that. Give you an indication of what the lens looks like. I've got my X Pro 2 here. I think the lens looks really, really nice on this camera. There you go. I hope that one helped you decide on if it looks good on your camera, if that's what matters to you. The question is, should you buy this lens? I can honestly say I have never had so much fun with a lens. The Samyang 12mm got really, really close to it, and I do love that lens still. There's something about manual lenses that I think are just have some sort of soul to them. They make you really work for your image, but it feels so refreshing to have a lens. And I didn't think I'd miss my full frame camera on my 5D Mark III that much, but I miss having that really, really shallow depth of field. And this gives you an equivalent, in my opinion, of a 1.4 full frame lens. It's great for portraits, it's great for details in weddings, it's great for street photography. The separation it gives you on your subject is simply astonishing, and I can't recommend this buy enough. Get the Mitikon version 2 35mm f/0.95. You will not be disappointed. Finally, I hope this video was useful to you. If you're in the market for 35mm, consider the Mitikon. It's a really, really good lens. Great image quality and great price. What more could you ask for? Thanks for taking the time to come back to the channel today. If you like this video, give us a thumbs up, subscribe, and I'll catch you guys real soon. Cheers.